Hey, it is Andy with FensePost, and today we are going to take a look at Acid House Kings and their 2002 album, Mondays Are Like Tuesdays and Tuesdays Are Like Wednesdays. I'm going to do a little unboxing, but really, to be honest, there's not much to the packaging and whatnot. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the history of the record and the band Acid House Kings. Acid House Kings, if you aren't familiar with the band or you haven't seen my previous video where I covered Advantage Acid House Kings, the band consists of 4 individuals. You have Johan and Nicholas Ongergaard, you have Julia Lannerheim, and you have Joachim Odland. Mondays Are Like Tuesdays and Tuesdays Are Like Wednesdays, aside from being a bit of a mouthful to say, is the band's 3rd album. It came out, as I mentioned at the beginning, in 2002. I swear that the video is going to be 5 minutes long simply because I keep having to say the name of the album. It was a split release across multiple different countries, most notably the band's home country of Sweden, where it got a release on Labrador Records. Labrador, of course, is the label that Johan Ongergaard helps run. Labrador also paired with Hidden Agenda for a dual co-release in Sweden, as well as a US version of the CD. Now, that first year, 2002, did not see anything but CD pressings. In Japan, it was on Quincy Records. In Spain, it received a pressing as well, as I mentioned, all on CD. It wasn't until 2012 that Labrador came out with a reissue of Mondays Are Like Tuesdays and Tuesdays Are Like Wednesdays. This album continued along Acid House Kings' typical original plan of releasing an album once every 5 years. The first one being Pop, Look, and Listen in 1992 on Marsh Marigold Records, and the follow-up being Advantage Acid House Kings on Harmony label in 1997. And where Shelf Life Records originally reissued Advantage Acid House Kings in 1998 on both CD and vinyl, this one never got a pressing until 2012. So what about the music on Mondays Are Like Tuesdays and Tuesdays Are Like Wednesdays? Acid House Kings began as a very C86 twee indie pop band, and that continued from the very early days of Pop, Look, and Listen from 1992, really kind of at the cusp end of that C86 era where twee was like just all the thing, into Advantage Acid House Kings in 1997. This one strays a little bit from that. Songs like Summer's on Its Way, Start Anew, She Keeps Hoping, Sunday Morning, they're a little bit more mellow, a little bit more even-keeled than some of that early stuff. Now, of course, you still have ones that really pack a good pop punch, like Say Yes If You Love Me. So if you really like that early twee sound, you're still gonna get a little bit of that, but to be honest, not a ton. Personally, I tend to prefer this sound over the early stuff of Advantage Acid House Kings. So let's take a quick look inside and see what it comes with, or in this case, really what it doesn't. First off, you have the album cover. It is pretty standard, nothing too fancy here. It's the standard cover that came on the original pressing, so you have that. On the back, you have track listing, lyrics, and credits down in the lower right-hand corner. Really, nothing too fancy here. Very simple, minimal design. I like it. It works. Now, my copy came with a nice little bent corner. It was shipped with a couple other albums from Labrador from Sweden, so back in 2012, 10 years ago. The vinyl itself is on standard black vinyl. Nothing, once again, too fancy. In fact, I kind of like that it's not on colored wax. The vinyl is on 180 gram wax, which is nice. It gets that extra weight to it, makes it nice and clear and crisp. Now, the other thing I'll make note of is that the scarcity is a thing. This, as with many albums on Labrador Records, came pressed pretty limited to just 500 copies. Now, all of those got snapped up within the first year, maybe year and a half, meaning that this has been out of print for at least 9, maybe even 10 years since its original pressing or repressing in 2012. And once again, sadly, that does mean that if you do want to add this to your collection, it's gonna cost you a little bit of extra money. So there you have it. You have my pressing of Acid House Kings. Mondays are like Tuesdays and Tuesdays are like Wednesdays. Are you a fan of Acid House Kings? What's your favorite record? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, check out my music blog, FensePost, where I cover all sorts of vinyl and other things every so often.